Hey everyone, Noah and Owen from Rarity 7. We are back in this video for part 2 of our 85 coin new purchase extravaganza that we're going to go through. We've broken this up into 4 videos because we've got a lot of amazing coins and we want to show you all of them. So we're going to dive through part 2. This is Draped Bus halves through trade dollars. Stick around. There are some awesome coins in this group. All right, the first coin that we're going to look at in this second round. A beautiful 1806 Draped Bus half in fine 12, pointed 6 stem. This is one of those coins where there's like a bunch of different permutations. There's the pointed 6 stem, the rounded 6 no stem, the pointed, I don't know which is which. This is one of the common ones. Owen, you found this coin in an online auction. It has a nice look to it. I have nothing but positive thoughts about it. What do you think about this and what made you buy it?
Yeah, I bought this one mostly because I think it has a great look for the type. With these Draped Bus half dollars, we often really like stocking these like Circ Cam kind of ones. That's where the devices are much lighter gray than the darker gray fields.
Yeah, I have no complaints about this coin. This is exactly the type that I love. You know, it's just a solid example, not a terribly rare coin, not a terribly expensive coin, just a like completely solid example. So super happy with this one. All right, well, we got a second one. This is an 1807, the last year of the Draped Bus halves when we switched over to cap bus halves. And you'll note that PCGS, because there are 2 types, they'll note that this is the Draped Bus half. And if you get a 1807 cap bus half, you will see that on the holder. Another terrific look. You got this in the same group as that last one, Owen. And I mean, I like this one just as much as the other one. A different look on this one, though.
Yeah, this coin has a much more even appearance to it. Less of that Circ Cam and more of a consistent gray throughout. I think it's a step down from the prior coin, but it's priced accordingly, and it's still a solid example of the type.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. By the way, like, I appreciate your saying that because I don't think we're going to ever try to be the types that say that every coin is perfect and amazing. Like, given the 2, I would rather the previous coin, and the previous coin is going to be priced accordingly. So, you know, like a still totally pleasant example of a Draped Bus half, and will be at a more value price point than the other one. Well, let's move to cap bus halves. The next coin in our group is a really, really pleasant 1811 cap bus half, the large 8 variety in XF40. You found this coin at the Pan show. We were hunting, you know, when we go to these little shows, we try to hunt, and, you know, we buy from collectors, we buy from dealers, we look at auctions. It's really one of the most fun parts of this job. And I call this a job, right? But you found this at the Pan show, and I really loved it. I remember you brought it over to me and you're like, hey, I'm going to grab this. And I said, yep. Totally perfect. Like we could just look at these coins and just say like this like fits a perfect niche for a coin. What drew you to this when you saw it?
Yeah, whenever I see a reasonably priced bust half, we always try to pick them up. I especially the early ones like this 1811 here. This is just a few years after the start of the series, and a lot of good things going for this one. It's relatively well struck for an 1811. This date is famously poorly struck, and has some peripheral luster still intact, pleasant color throughout. Just a nice all-around solid example of a early bust half.
Yeah, by the way, like I love the fact that, you know, XFs are this grade where you can start to, you know, you will see some peripheral luster on some XFs. And I just love that because it just shows you a little hint. It's like a whisper of the former state of the coin. And I really, really like how this came out. So really, really nice. Well, we'll move on the next one to a slightly later date. Here is a VF35 1820 with a CAC sticker on it. I'm going to take credit on this one because I fell in love with this coin. I took this in trade with a collector. I bought a bunch of stuff. This was at the Rosemont show, and then we needed to wait for it to go to CAC. And I saw this coin. This coin gives me an emotional response when I look at it visually. The surfaces and the smoothness and the gradient of the color is like a black and white sunset, almost like an old black and white photo. And I said that if this coin doesn't get a sticker, I'm gonna be really pissed. And I was really happy to see it got a sticker. So, and I would take every cap bus half in the world that looks like this.
Yeah, I agree. I love this one. Cap bus halves are one of my favorite series, and this is what you want them to look like. Really nicely struck, no big scratches or rim bumps to mention. Excellent color, a little bit lighter on the high points. No hairlines or any funky things going on in the fields. This is just wonderful.
Yeah, and the rare left CAC sticker, which is not really rare, but you know we like to note the ref. Well, I guess it is rare, but it's not more valuable, is what I would say. So, and then we'll move into the later years of the Cat Bus halves where the design changed slightly. Here's an 1836 lettered edge. They had both the lettered edge variety and reeded edge variety in 1836, which is why they note it. I think we bought this from another dealer that we do a lot of work with, also at the Pan Show. You had a very emotional reaction to this coin when we saw it, right?
Yeah, I'm rarely impressed by an 1836 bust half. If you're looking for like a nice bust half, 1836 is kind of the year where there's a lot of nice ones out there. So for me to actually be impressed by one still kind of says a lot. This coin just has like knockout, beautiful color. It's got this like satiny luster throughout, which is just really uncommon for the type. It's one of the most eye-appealing circulated bust halves I've seen yet. I'm really excited about this one.
Can you elaborate on that point you just made? Why are there so many nice 1836s out there to choose from?
I'm not sure of the exact reason. It was a large mintage to begin with, and maybe being near the end of the series, perhaps a lot were saved. I'm not sure, but if you find like a bust half in 63 at a coin show, there's a pretty good chance it's going to be an 1836. There's just a lot of them out there.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. We've actually had an MS63 1836 relatively recently, and I remember that. Yeah.
Now, it's worth noting that this only applies to the lettered edge variety, which is what you see here. They also transitioned to reeded edges in 1836, and the design changed a little bit. Those are much scarcer. The mintage was much lower, and they're worth many multiples more than a common lettered edge like the one you see here.
Okay, well, now we'll move into seeded halves. You found a wonderful run of Owen seeded halves for us recently, and this was one of the first coins that came out of that. Here's a 40-0 in XF45, very pleasing looking coin. The seeded design, all the seeded coins from half dime up to dollar are incredibly popular lately, and I actually like them a lot. If you were a time traveler and you went back to a random date in the 1800s, chances are, you went to go to a bar, you're going to pick up some seeded coinage. That was pretty much the workhorse of American commerce. So it's fun. They were unified in the design from half dime all the way up to dollar, and this is pretty much what American coins look like for a long time. So here's a great example of one out of New Orleans that you grabbed, and then we got a whole run of these. There's going to be more dates coming. What do you think?
I really enjoy these seeded coins from the early infancy of the New Orleans Mint. This is a great example of that. And what you want to look for in an XF45 seeded half dollar. You especially want to look for strike. There's a lot of striking issues on these. And you'll see at the Eagle's head, there is a bit of a weak strike there. That's kind of just a fact for 1840 half dollars. But if you look at the obverse, Liberty's hair is nice and sharp. The detail throughout her blouse is really sharp. So a lot of good things going for it. There's a touch of peripheral luster, so it's kind of checking all the boxes, and it's got great color to it as well.
Well, let's jump ahead 13 years, and we're going to look at a pretty wild coin. Here's a 53-0 in AU53 CAC. This is a 53-0 Arrows and Rays. This is a tough coin. I didn't realize when I bought this from a collector who is a wonderful guy who we're going to be doing a lot of work with in the future, and he was kind enough to sell me some of his wonderful coins at the Irvine show a couple weeks ago, and this was one of them. I was really excited to get this coin. The OG modern PCGS holder. This is a fun holder because it's the first generation of the current generation Gold Shield, and you can see that it almost looks like it was printed on an inkjet printer because they were sort of trying out this new design. So it's kind of a fun holder. A great coin, AU53 with CAC approval, and just a terrific look to it. Real luster in there. Owen, did I do all right on this one?
Definitely. These 1853 Arrows and Rays half dollars are kind of a conditional rarity above, say, XF. They're pretty available in like lower circulated grades, like good or very good. But once you start looking above XF, the populations really drop off. It's worth noting that the CAC population of this one is just 7. And in all grades finer, there's just 13 coins.
Oh my God. So this is like top 20 in terms of CAC coins on this. That's wild.
Yeah, and it's about top 100 for all certified by PCGS. There's a little over 100 certified by PCGS in 53 and up. So it might not strike it as first, but this is kind of up there for a 53-0 seeded half. It's kind of a top 100 coin.
And now we'll move, interestingly, so, we're going to go to a 58 seeded half in XF40 with a CAC sticker, a much, much more common and less expensive coin because, again, of just availability, but with another chef's kiss look. I really like this. And you had a very positive reaction to this. I bought this. I found this one in an online auction that I was hunting. Did I do all right on this one?
Yeah, this is probably my personal favorite look for seated half dollars. I would not mind owning this coin. It has that wonderful skin throughout, perfect amount of detail for an XF. Everything you want to see for an XF seated half dollar.
Yeah, and I'm really starting to learn, and I'm glad you like this. I'm really starting to learn, the CAC look on these, and it does gel with my personal taste, like kind of very original, crusty, nice look. And I was very, very happy with this one. This is a much more affordable example of one. It's a Philly mint coin, higher mintage, more available, but a great look on the coin. So. We'll move into slightly later the next series of half dollars. We've got a 1915 Barber half VF35, a very solid, nice looking coin. Not a crazy mint, not a crazy condition rarity, just a solid type. And Owen, you plucked this from an auction. What drew you to this coin?
Yeah, I always like buying low mintage kind of sleeper date coins, and I think 1915 half dollars are a good example of that. The mintage is 138,000, which is kind of shockingly low in my opinion. If you compare it to something like a 1909 SVDB, the mintage is over 3 times that of this coin. I think relative to the mintage, it's a pretty affordable key date, and this one has an excellent look. It's well detailed, so I was happy to pick this one up.
We'll move 5 years later, and we'll go to the Walkers. I love these early Walkers. Here's a 1920 Walker in MS64. You grabbed this coin for us as well, Owen. A very, very solid look. I personally look. There's something we're going to get to another Walker later in a few coins that has that later Walker look to it. There's something I love about the early Walkers, and this has that like choice early Walker mint state look to it.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of the early Walking Ruby half dollars are kind of just like screwed with. A lot of them are dipped or altered nefariously with stuff like applied to them. So this coin to me is just like a drop dead original album coin. I don't think it's ever been played with. So these are the kind of early Walkers that I like to add to inventory.
Well, let's jump ahead 14 years and we'll go to a 34 Denver in 66. This coin is super flashy and has a really, really great look to it. This, you found this coin and I think you got this one certified and it was a really, really lovely look to it. I mean, this has that like, we're going to contrast this one with the coin we're about to look at because this is a 34D silky luster. I mean, satiny look to it, and you can see as you hold it, it doesn't have like super high impact flash, but it's got this very nice satiny look to it, and an incredibly pleasing coin. I'm gonna pull out the next one that we have just to compare it. Here is a 36D 2 years later in MS65 CAC with an old green holder. Completely different look from the same mint, only 2 years apart. Blast white. This one looks like it's a 6 or a 7 even. I mean, it looks spectacular. It's very different looks on 2 different coins from the same mint, only 2 years apart, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that is mostly due to just a storage on these 2 coins. These coins definitely live different lives. I think the coin on the right probably lived on a roll for a long time and was able to avoid any like patina inducing environments like albums or paper wrapping of any kind. And I wanted to note on the 3040 half dollar, it's kind of an amazing conditional rarity in any grade finer. In the next grade up in 67, the price guide is $27,500 on this one here.
Oh my God! Wow, that's rocket. Well, this is not $27,000. That's crazy.
This is the kind of last affordable grade on a 3040 half dollar, even a plus. The PCGS price guide is $57.50.
I like coins like this because this is a great coin to go in someone who's building a Walker set. And you don't want to spend $6,000. You certainly don't want to spend $20,000. This is the coin for you. It'll be a wonderful example. And then of course this 3060 is just like, green on green OGH roll life coin, super flashy, very reasonably priced, not a hugely expensive coin, well under $1,000. And I expect this one will also go super quick because this is a coin I would keep. Like, I think this is a coin that I would be very happy to put in my own collection. collection. We'll move into the 40s now, another OGH coin. And this one is a great example of a proof. And this coin, this one is really hard to both photograph and video because the mirrors are so deep on this coin that it looks literally black in video and even in photographs. This coin literally is like holding a fully mirrored coin, deep mirrors. And you know, there's some cameo contrast on the high points. But a really, really fun example of a proof, you know, from when they went to that brilliant proof set look. And I love the proof walkers. You know, I think they made it from 36 through the 40s, if I remember correctly. And just a really, really nice look on this one.
Yeah, I really like this one. It stood out to me because it's still like fully crisp. So when I say that, proofs are often really susceptible to like environmental issues. That really, you know, nicely mirrored surface that they have is like very fragile on a molecular level. If any kind of environmental damage or corrosion gets onto the surfaces of this coin, it very, very quickly dulls. And a lot of Walking Liberty half dollars have some kind of like, you know, toning that's too thick or environmental damage. So when I get like this one, I mean, this thing shines like a proof silver eagle. You know, so not that there's anything wrong with those toned Walking Liberty half dollars, but if someone wants a really nice, bright, crispy Walking Liberty half dollar, this is your coin.
Now we're going to move into my personal favorite coin in this group. This is a coin, an 1799 Draped bust dollar VF35 CAC approval. I bought this coin in an auction. I remember the moment I picked it up looking at lot viewing, and I uttered a bad word and I said, holy, and it just, you know, this was like immediately I knew it. This is like the absolute look. Perfect circulated cameo look, CAC approved, pre-1800. Everything about this coin is what I love. And so I was like exceedingly happy. Sorry guys, not going to be cheap. This is just like a super popular pre-1800 date, and it's awesome. I spent a lot buying it. Oh, and he scolded me when I bought it, but did I do all right? I mean, it's an okay coin, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think the coin speaks for itself. You and I both know that sometimes you pick up a coin, if you have a really strong emotional reaction to it, as a dealer, the price is almost irrelevant. As long as it's remotely within reason, there's coins that we know we just have to have in inventory, and this is one of them.
If there's one coin I could attribute to like a Rarity 7 coin in this group, in this entire 4-part series, it would be a 1799 Draped bust dollar in VF35 CAC with this look. You know, I would love to have a whole case of these. It's just the good stuff. All right, well, let's go 1 year later to a very different looking coin. Here is an 1800 Draped bust dollar. We've crossed the turn of the century. This is an XF45, and you know, we talked a little earlier about that peripheral luster that shows up in XFs. You know, I bought this for exactly that reason. I mean, when you twirl this coin, like there's a whisper of what it looked like. There is like that wonderful peripheral luster on this one. And you know, I think that's the textbook choice XF, right? I think that's what you taught me, Owen.
Yeah, for XFs, you want to see a little bit of luster there in the protected areas. And the reason it kind of remains at those protected areas, you know, if you think about this coin, kind of blow it up in your screen a little bit and think of it in circulation. As it's being used in commerce and tills and pockets and bags, those wide open areas are more susceptible to coming in contact with other things in circulation. So things like the stars and the date digits and the lettering kind of protect the surrounding metal, and therefore you get this peripheral luster remaining after some circulation. You want to see that on XFs, not only because it looks pleasant, but because a coin is XF and really shiny throughout, that should be a big red flag, and it's almost certainly indicative of some kind of altering done to the coin to make it much brighter than it should be.
Well, let's move to the seeded series. This is a very, very famous coin and a very notable coin. This is an 1870 Carson City seeded dollar in F15. Notable and famous because it's the first year of the Carson City Mint. 70cc is it's a tough year across the board. I might be wrong on this, but I think if I'm correct, the 70cc dollar is the most accessible and reasonably priced 70cc coin. Am I remembering that correctly?
I'm not certain if it's the most, but it's definitely up there.
I know that the 70cc quarter is ridiculously expensive, and I know that the 70cc 20 is insanely expensive when it starts to get up there in grades. And it's the first year of the Carson City Mint, so the mint was just getting up and running. Mintages were low, prices are now high. For collectors, you want that first year. So I've seen a lot more 70cc dollars on the market than I have any of the other coins. I think we owned a 70cc 10 Liberty, and it was also XF, and it was actually the first six-figure coin that we bought and sold with Rarity 7. This is not a six-figure coin. This is going to be a nice, solid 4 or 5 figure coin. I don't remember exactly how much it is, but I think it's a 4-figure coin. And I just like the look of it. It's just a nice, solid, fine 15. This is a great example to go in a collection if you're looking to get a that fill that hole for a 70cc. You had a good reaction when we were reviewing this coin. It's just got a nice look, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't look like a 70cc. You mentioned a low mintage. I think it's worth elaborating. The mintage of this coin is less than 12,500 examples, which is just an insanely low number for U.S. coins. Even if all the coins survive to this day, that'd still be a scarce coin. But again, these coins were like not saved in roll quantity or sat in bank vaults like Morgan Dollars did. They were subject to being out there in the wild and oftentimes were lost to history. So, a small portion of those 12,500-ish coins exist today. And for some reason, most 70cc dollars are just ugly. That's the best way I can describe them. They're always like really harshly cleaned. A lot of them have plugs or holes in them, or even graffiti, like things are carved into the field. So to just get an example like this that has like no catches, pleasant color, a good amount of wear to it, but still a lot of detail. This is an exceptional example of a 70cc dollar.
I bought this in a recent auction, and I looked through. They had about 5 or 6 of them, and this was the only one that I liked. They were all kind of meant exactly like you said. And I said, this is both the most reasonably priced one and the best looking of the group. So I snagged it, and I thought it was worth it. All right, well, now we'll look at another seated dollar, just a 72 Philly. NGC VF35, again, not an expensive coin, a very solid, nice seated dollar. You found this one at the Pan Show. This was another one of those coins that you came back to me and you tossed it on the desk and you said, I got this, and I gave you a high five.
I think coins are really, really hot right now, and a lot of coins have kind of gone up dramatically. But for some reason, common date VF seated dollars are one that hasn't moved a ton. I think these are a really good deal and are kind of bound to go up more in the near future. And this is just, a no problem, no catches example to it. Nice stone gray throughout. No giant digs or rim bumps or anything. Just a solid example.
All right, well, we'll move a couple years later. We'll go into the trade dollar series. Here is a 77S common date trade dollar, but in a wonderful grade, XF45 with CAC approval, certified by NGC. Again, this is I found this coin looking through a dealer's batch, and this stands out. It's just the eye appeal on coins like this. It's just not a rare coin, but beautiful, rare grade and rare condition. Well, our final coin, and Owen's favorite coin of the night. I am saying that with as much sarcasm as possible because Owen hates this series or this type. Here is a 77S XF40 Chopmarked. This coin, I love this coin. Owen hates it. We're going to talk about it. Look at this. This is a Chopmarked coin. This coin is like a salad bowl. Look at this. Look at this. The coin is literally concave on this side, convex on this side. This was like hammered out with chop marks on it. This went into commerce. It's just so much fun. I love this coin. First off, I got to point out, like, it's got amazing chop marks on it. It's like fully, look at this. It's like fully bulbous, convex on the obverse, concave on the reverse. It literally looks like a salad bowl on the reverse. It's in a PCGS double thick holder, which I think is super fun because the coin is like extra thick. So PCGS has these special holders for super thick coins, which I just think is super fun. And I just I don't know, I love it. It's super fun. And you hate it. So tell me what you think about this coin.
I think this coin's terrible. I think it has excessively negative eye appeal. I think if you're a blind coin collector, this might be a really good pickup for you. And if not, and you're going to buy it anyways, maybe you could use it as an ashtray or something. I don't know. This coin's terrible.
I'm going to buy so many Chopmarked trade dollars just to get your hate on them.
I hate them so much.
I love it. I love it. Well, with that, we'll end this second round of awesome coins. Thank you guys for joining us. We've got 2 more rounds of really fun coins. Check out in the description links to those other videos, and we will continue. No more Chopmarked trade dollars in this batch, but I promise you many more to come in the future. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll be back for more.